So, we did something different. Today, you get unfiltered, unchecked personal opinions about Topeka, Kansas. Becky will have you falling in love with this place. Patrick will make you realize this is the perfect town for a family. And I'm worried the locals are gonna hate my personal cons. Let's get into it. Hey, before we start, don't forget, if you have questions or if you're thinking of moving out here, call us. All right, let's get to the video.
Has to be the parks. I absolutely love how many parks Topeka has. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, so I'm in my mom era, as they call it, and I am just so excited about all of the options that I have for my kids. Gage Park is really huge in Topeka. They have a train, they have a carousel, they have different events they put on. It's right across from our zoo. There's another park off of Kings Row here in Topeka. I can't think of the name of that park, but I absolutely love it. It has a little walking trail with it. And then really nice equipment for the kids. They actually just installed a new park with pickleball courts further down on Urish. And I haven't taken the kids yet to that one, but I know it's state of the art. A lot of my mom friends have talked about how excited they are to take their kids over there. So yeah, just the parks in general. There's Collins Park, there's all over town, there's just great parks to take your kids to.
You know, for me at this point in my life, we all have several different roles that we play at different times in our life. For me, my favorite role right now is father. I've got a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, and so for me, it's the schools. It sounds funny to say out loud. You know, I don't know if I would have said that a few years ago, and I don't know what I'll be saying in a few years from now. But right now, at this season of our life, I'd say schools. And the reason for that is we got some great choices here. We've got some good public schools. And the public schools are not just the Topeka, 501 and 437 school districts, but there's a lot of towns that are within driving distance of Topeka that people can get that small town experience, that small town school experience. So we've got some great public schools, but what we also have is some great private schools. And my kids go to a private school that would be very hard for us to afford in other parts of the country. We used to live in Scottsdale, Arizona. And for us to afford that there, it would be considerably more expensive. It would be a pretty big hit. Now, I'm not saying it's cheap here by any means for this classical school. However, it's considerably cheaper than it would be in other parts of the country, so that's great. With that private school and some of these other smaller schools, your kids get more opportunities to participate in sports and different activities, whether it's the fine arts or athletics or what have you. So that's been fantastic. And I think when you have that smaller school, smaller classroom size, you get to know each other more. The kids get to know each other better, and the families do as well. So I'm loving the role as father right now. So for me, it's about schools, and that's the big draw. Plus, I will say, it's been rough the past 4 or 5 years with the 2020 stuff and whatnot, and our kids were less isolated. It didn't hit us as hard here in Topeka. Maybe that's because of the density or what have you, and I think some of it's just the way of handling things. We handle it a little bit different here. So our kids were not as impacted. They didn't have as much of the isolation, especially at the private schools, but even on the public schools. So that's one of my favorite things right now about Topeka, Kansas.
One of my favorite things about living in Topeka is the great sense of community that we have. Over the years, I've been here, 12 years now. My wife has been here 16, 17 years. We've created a really, really good community around ourselves with the people that we have. I'm not someone who likes to have 1,000 acquaintances or a bunch of people online that I get to just press like on different posts. I like real interaction with real people and doing life alongside other people at the same stages or even ahead of where we're at. And Topeka has offered that to me and my family, specifically through my work as a realtor and through my church at South Norwood Baptist Church. Between those two, I have created around me just a fantastic bubble of just ridiculously awesome people. And I love having that. I lived in Idaho before this, Pennsylvania before that, and I had lots of friends and we had family and everything else, but I don't really feel like I had the true sense of community that I have out here in Topeka, which is probably why we're never gonna leave, because this is where we have everybody that we love and wanna be around. So one of my top things I love about Topeka is the community.
Well, with my previous job, I drove a lot, and I'm not impressed with the streets of Topeka. Like, we have a lot of potholes, a lot of the parking lots have a lot of potholes, and I feel like it just doesn't get the attention that it needs to. Now, that being said, there's road construction all the time, but I don't even mind the road construction because that means they're working on the roads. It's when you have a pothole that pops your tire, or you're like, I know that did some damage. I'm gonna have a flat tire in a couple months when that, piece kind of breaks down. But having gone from Omaha to Wichita for my previous job, you kind of see what other cities deal with. And I'm just kind of disappointed that Topeka I'm just not impressed with the roads and the amount of potholes and all of that. So that's probably my number one con of Topeka.
The conspicuous lack of mountains. I love seeing a mountain in the distance. I like getting up into the mountains. So we tend to vacation places that have mountains or beaches because I love both of those things. So I do miss that. Now, after I'm there for a while, it's a pain in the butt to get around. I can only imagine daily life there being pretty great, but also pretty restricted just by that. But I do desire that. I love that kind of scenery and some of the activities that go with, like the mountain type activities and sports and whatnot. So, like I said, we like to ski. I've always wanted to be a fly fisherman, but that takes time. That's hard to just do every now and then on vacation. So we don't end up doing that kind of thing. So, mountains would probably be the biggest con for me of not having them. I did live in an area that for a while that had like smaller mountains. Some people wouldn't even call them mountains. I lived in the Ozarks, and that was a nice blend because you had some of that, but they weren't so imposing and so hard to get around. So that was great. But even then, it was, you're not going to take the direct route. You've got to drive around some things. It takes longer to get around and such. So, so that'd be my con.
I know I get harped on a lot about this, but I view Topeka as slightly boring. What I mean by that is, I came from Idaho before this. I've said it 1,000 times, but I could walk out my door and see snow-capped mountains in summertime. That gives me a sense of exhilaration that I miss. I'm more outdoorsy. My family used to camp like on every weekend. We go out and run mountains in Pennsylvania. We go out and fish. We do a lot of outdoor stuff. And then we moved to Idaho, and it's just that on a grander scale. And then we moved to Topeka, and it's cornfield after cornfield. Now, if I ask Becky Willis, she's gonna say it's the greatest place in the whole wide world. She hasn't lived in the Northwest yet. I might change her mind, but I miss having a lot more outdoor things to do. So Topeka, in my opinion, unless you really plan what you're gonna do, can be kind of boring. It's not something like me personally. I will just, in an afternoon, be like, hey family, let's go do something fun. I'll spend the next hour thinking like, okay, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? It's usually the zoo or walk around Shawnee Lake. So, personal opinion, Topeka can be a little bit boring.
Well, I'm a foodie. I love good food, and I love fun places to eat. Again, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. So I just love the unique options we have for eating, considering Topeka is kind of a smaller town. I'm from Kansas City, so there's obviously tons of options there, but I love the Pennant here in town. They have a bowling alley down below, and then up above, they have a full arcade. All the things you pictured as a kid or what you played as a kid, they have up there. They have specials on like Tuesdays where for $5 you get unlimited play. My kids just absolutely love that. And then I love that they theme things. So they had like a Harry Potter pop-up, they called it. They had, what was the other one? Willy Wonka pop-up. So you show up and they just go all out with the decor. I also like Axe and Ale. I mean, they don't necessarily serve food there, but they do have drinks. It's a fun date night. So axe throwing, I know I have the muscles that would make you think that would be something I'd want to do. We also have the tee box. So it's like a golf simulator where I'm not good at golf, but I don't really want to walk the course either, but a simulator is pretty fun. They have unique drinks that they make in-house. They have a good food menu. Really, our downtown is kind of like picking up with different options, but just fun places like that. 785 Brewery. I don't know if you've heard of that, but they have pickleball courts, and I did not make it out over Christmas, but they go all out for decor. So I can't wait to go this Christmas and see how they decorate that place. So that's probably my other favorite thing. I'm a foodie, I love good food places, and I like it to be fun.
This will be a little bit harder to quantify, but it's just how much easier it is in some aspects. Like I said, we've lived in some bigger cities before, and I loved Phoenix. I loved Scottsdale area. That was great, but it took forever to get around, especially at certain times of day. That's not just an inconvenience. That actually takes time from your family and the stuff that you can do and what you can get accomplished in a day. Just being able to get around here is so easy. The city's pretty well set up with I-70 coming through and I-470 with a loop around the city. It's super easy to get around. I could be at where my kids used to play soccer out at Sunflower. I could be on the southwest side of town, and that's out north, and I could be there in 7 to 10 minutes at least, sometimes even a little bit less, depending on where it was. So that's great because, you know, the one thing that we don't have, you can't make any more of, is time. So it's just so much easier to get around and do those things. And, you know, on the weekends too, things aren't exceptionally overcrowded. We have some great parks, and especially when the kids were little, between Gage Park and the Topeka Zoo, and you've been to some other places. It takes forever just to get into anything, and the lines are forever. And things are pretty ease of use here. I hate to say it's just easier, but it's just easier. You get more of your day back, more of the time with your family back, and pursue some other things. Now, I do, from time to time, miss some of the grandiose things in some of these other cities, but quite frankly, we hardly ever did them because of those issues. You just didn't get out and do as much. You had to pick your battles. You know, it's like, hey, let's do this. It'll take forever. We love skiing and whatnot, but the people that I know that live in Denver, it takes them a long time to get out of town on a Friday night and get to a place they can actually ski. So they end up not doing it that much. So the things that we do here, we love it. And if we need something more, like Kansas City is only an hour away, and that's still easy. It's a bigger zoo. Omaha is, how far is Omaha away? About 4 hours, I think. Yeah, 3.5, 4 hours. And that is a world-class zoo. We're in a good position as far as how long it takes to get to some other places if you want to do something more substantial anyway. I love just how much easier it is than other places.
The incredible ability to build wealth through real estate. Now, as a realtor, you would expect me to say something like that, but the reality is Topeka is such a fantastic market, even post-COVID, that last year we were named one of the country's top emerging real estate markets. As a matter of fact, MarketWatch had us in fall of 2023. We were the very top of top 20 cities in the country for emerging real estate markets. Prices out here are fantastic. So if you're someone that's coming out that wants to actually buy a home and build equity, it's awesome. If you're an investor, which is the realm that I love building family wealth through real estate. So that's what I live and breathe daily. You can buy and sell real estate out here at prices and with terms and with everything that you want comparatively to like bigger cities or especially coastal cities, you just can't find. What you would expect to be a unicorn find on either side of the country where things you would think is incredibly cheap, that's just normal out here. Now again, if you're moving here and you're living the Kansas life, it might not feel like that, but I promise you with the out-of-state investors that I've worked with and have, our prices here are just fantastic. So I like the idea of families building wealth for the next generation and using the vehicle of real estate. Topeka is by far one of the greatest places in the world to do it.
I know I don't seem like the type of person that would care about this, but I'm just not impressed with the nightlife. Like, sometimes I just want to go on a date night with my husband and go to a jazz club, a jazz bar, and, you know, have cocktails. And I know I don't seem like that type of person, but from our honeymoon, we went to some like comedy clubs and, you know, different types of, you know, places that have good karaoke or local bands that play. I know we have that in Topeka, but it's not at all compared to what you would get like even just an hour away in Kansas City, or even, you know, 30 minutes away in Lawrence. Luckily, we are close enough that we can drive that, but I'm just kind of disappointed that Topeka doesn't have more of that presence. I'm not a clubber, but we don't even have an option for clubs. You know, you have to go all the way to Power and Light in Kansas City, and I don't want to do that. So anyway, so really just the lack of nightlife and options. Our date nights are going to be going to the old Who Hot for dinner, or, you know, the Pennant or something like that. But sometimes you just want to like get dolled up and go somewhere nicer. And I feel like we just don't have a good option of those.
February. You're like, what? That's a month. Yeah. February, I'm done with winter at that point. I want it moved on. I mean, I love Christmas here. So I guess instead of just saying February, I'd say the weather. I think the weather is actually a strength here too, because I do like the seasons. I do like the change. But by the time February rolls around, I'm ready for spring. And we might get some spring weather in, mid to end February, or it might wait till March or the beginning of April. That's about as long as it takes here. But when February comes, it's not like we have the winter sports as much to take advantage of. We don't have slopes and skiing and all that. So, it's kind of dark, and I'm ready for longer days and more sunlight at that point. So February is that. Now, prior to that, December, January, even through New Year's, I think it's fantastic. I love the holidays, love the Christmas season, Thanksgiving through New Year's is great. But that about January 15th till about February, the end of February, really, I'm ready to be done at that point with that. So I've always said that we're going to plan our vacations during that time and go to a beach vacation or something like that. But the kids are in school, so it's hard to do that at this point. So yeah, when our kids are doing their thing and out of the house, we'll definitely be planning our vacations in February. So that's my biggest con is the weather / February.
We love our zoo. My kids like to visit there at least once a week, especially in the summertime, because we live close enough we can just walk to it. So my wife and kids walk to the zoo a lot. We love visiting. They do really great in Christmas with light shows around Halloween. They do a whole light show as well. They do all sorts of events. Like, they've worked on it over the years and it's gotten better. It's also very small and some of the habitats are not great. We would love to see that zoo get expanded and just become much bigger, especially when I compare it to like Kansas City or Omaha. It's lacking. I mean, it's in Gage Park and they have a couple hundred acres, so there is space. It's probably just a matter of funds, but we would love to see the Topeka Zoo just get expanded on, have more exhibits, and the current exhibits just better cared for. So one of the things I don't like is the fact that our zoo is still lacking in a lot of ways, but I'm excited to see what they do in the future. They've been building more exhibits out, and on the south end, they started adding some more stuff, so I'm just hoping they continue to build on that and continue to expand. Hey, we really hope that you liked that video and that was a bit informative for you. You had fun with us. If you're from Topeka, put in the comments below what your top pro is about Topeka. If you're from out of state or out of town, what's your top pro about Topeka that you see so far when comparing it to where you currently live? We would love to know. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching one of our videos. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, and if you would, subscribe so we can get more of this content out here on the regular. See you next time.